morning, folks. We are a bit into June already. And the garden is growing. This is that second set of goslings. Growing fast. Oh, over here you can see. Can you see from here? This plant here is Sweet Sicily. It's in the carrot family along with an awful lot of other things. And it's particularly attractive when it flowers to predatory wasps. So those are wasps that lay eggs inside the bugs that eat a lot of my plants. And you can see how the flowers are just like covered in little flies and bugs. I'm not good at IDing predatory wasps, but they're flowering and that's a good sign. There's my comfrey, rhubarb, comfrey, rhubarb, comfrey, strawberry, rhubarb, and you can see that the geese and ducks stick their head through and they eat the comfrey, but less the rhubarb because rhubarb is a little bit poisonous. Over here we have 2 hascat berries. That's one. The other one is right there. Growing, putting on lots of new growth. There's some more planted over here. Growing in this thicket of thistles. All those thistles. And those 2 bushes there are hascaps. Those 2 bushes there are hascaps. Those were planted quite recently. And those 2 bushes over there are Juneberry. And then there are some plum trees in here too. So things are growing, things are getting moved slowly. My Brussels sprouts over here are doing quite well. And next to them is my quinoa that's not doing as well. The leaves have got some yellow on them. That looks like a nutrient deficiency to me. I'm not sure what it is really. We've had some very late frosts here. As much as 2 days ago, so that's like June 8th or 9th or something like that. We were having frost, so I planted my squash out and then covered it. I've been covering it most nights, so it's not super happy. It's alive though. I'm putting out new leaves, so that's good. These raspberries are still working on putting out some blossoms, nice and early. Just want to show you, I did some fluid seeding a while back. And, hi geese. And fluid seeding is where you make like a gel out of, we're going to take a break. And these are the older goslings. Look, they're like goose-shaped, but just covered in fur with no wings. Look at those silly little wings. I'm looking at your silly little wings. Hi, guys. Hi, guys. They're pretty cute. They've been sleeping by the dog door so that the dogs can't come in and out at night. This is some soil, well, compost that I got delivered that's going to go over here to do some potatoes. That's a lot of wheelbarrow work. Hey, Avalou. Hello. Yeah. So I haven't, some gardening I can do in breaks from work, but this one I haven't been doing in breaks from work. So that's gonna be some work. My stinging nettles have bounced back from their first harvest, so it's almost time for a second harvest. I'm just coming around here to show you this fluid seed. Oh, this is my lovage plant. It's so huge. This may be 4 feet high. Look at that. So much celery taste, so little use. I mean, when you want it, it's great, but it would be nice if it were smaller. Someday I'll fix that gate. One thing I need to do is collect all my empty big pots where everything in them has died and bring them up onto the deck. I'll have my deck garden started. Okay, fluid sowing. So I did fluid sowing here, and you can see I've let a lot of weeds grow. And I realized that my way of growing plants is that I get rid of the weeds that aren't useful. So this is pineapple weed. It does have a flower that you can pick and use kind of like chamomile. It's related to chamomile, like in the tea. But I don't really eat it. It smells nice. It grows in other places around here. So I take those out, but I leave, I love lamb's quarters, so I leave it until it's harvestable. Dandelion is okay, so I leave some of them, but not too many. So you can see, like, it looks like weeds, but I don't think of most of this stuff as weeds. The grass I don't want here. I can't really pull it, like, dig it out, so I'll disturb too many roots. You can see here, this little one right here, that's a parsnip. And that's a parsnip right there. So you can see that at least some of them have come up. But there's not, there's a clump right there. They don't have their leaves, first leaves yet, true leaves. So there's, I don't know, I don't think I'm going to call the fluid sowing a big success out here, because honestly, there just aren't that many coming up. And there was a fairly heavy seeding rate, so if they're not going to grow, then I'll have to find another method. That's too bad. In the greenhouse, the carrot fluid sowing actually worked pretty well. You can go look at that in a minute. I'm just gonna see if you can see the difference between here, these like quite big robust rows, and those less robust rows. These ones were covered with poly fabric, row cover. It's like that white, almost translucent stuff that you buy and put over your garden. And you can see that they're just growing way better. And oh, my carrots are coming up here. There's one. There's another right there. The long, thin ones. There's another right there coming up quite well. Oh, that's good. So mostly in these rows, there's arugula right now. Don't see a lot of carrots there. There's a carrot right there. This one. Interesting. Carrots are coming up some. Anyhow, maybe it's still too cold. But the arugula will get picked as I use it in like pizzas and salads and things like that. And then that'll leave the carrots behind. It's a little confusing because this pineapple weed that I was talking about does look a lot like carrots. It has that same kind of ferny leaf. Actually, here's right here is a carrot, and right here is a pineapple weed. So you can see that leaf is kind of ferny and similar looking. But I can tell the difference because I have spent a lot of time looking at plants and know what they look like differently. Just check another kind of random spot here and see those parsnips are coming up. That's parsnip coming up right there by my pinky. Well, it's not great, but it's better than nothing. So I guess we'll see what comes up. But yeah, I like the soil to be fairly well covered, but I like it to be covered with things that I can use. And then I try and just pull out the things that I can't use. Over here in this corner, it looks super weedy. A lot of that is mint. And so I come here and I cut this for my tea. Next year it'll want to expand out to here. I'll probably just rototill it and pull out the extra bits. It's not that bad to manage. And then if anyone in the neighborhood wants mint, I can give it to them. Just put it out and make a post on Facebook and say, hey, come pick up some mint. Not mint, they're all spread from one tiny plant last summer. So over here, same deal. These are rows of, this is shepherd's purse, which is like, it's an edible, but I just don't like it. These are beets. And just like in the greenhouse earlier, like there's a beet leaf, there's the leaf of a lamb's quarters. They're relatively similar. These beets aren't as red, so they're harder to distinguish, but the rooster got in this bed and made a bit of a mess of it. But again, I have like all these different ages of get it. Yeah, there you go. Yum, yum. I have all these different ages of lamb's quarters coming up in my different beds. So that's kind of exciting. These are turnips here. They have, they look like radishes. They have these little bug holes. But I think flea beetle is the name of the bug that does that. Oh, this one looks like it might have eggs on it. These little orange things, like eggs. So in here is the greenhouse. Whew, it's much warmer in here. And everything is much further ahead. You can see how much bigger the lamb's quarters are. Under here, this is that row cover I was talking about that used to be over the parsnips. It's just this light fabric you get from nurseries, and it keeps the heat in even more, so you can see how big everything is there compared to there without the cover. It just makes such a difference. Even in June. Here you can see the fluid sowing with the carrots is working really well. That's a carrot, that's a carrot, that's a carrot, that's a carrot, that's a carrot. Those are carrots. This is my arugula. This plant. If you ever see this like growing somewhere, pick it and put it on your clothes and just rub it against your clothing. So I'm pulling down this way and it sticks. It's like Velcro. It's called cleavers or goosegrass or Velcro plant. It's just really neat. It has some medicinal benefits as well, but mostly it's just really cool to play with. So these tomatoes are getting their first set of flowers. I need to set up their strings to hold them up. These ones under here that are doing so much bigger, they have one set of flowers there, and there's another little set of flowers, but they're not really ahead, like their flowers aren't more open. They're just a bigger plant. A bigger plant often means that they have more food, so they can make more, more of whatever they're doing. So more tomatoes. If you have a bigger pea plant, you might have more peas or bigger peas. And this is just all this lamb's quarters. You'll notice I harvested along this row of beets here first. So there's a kind of like a hole, but I think it's about time to harvest all this and put it in the freezer. Some of it's starting to go to seed. And the leaves turn bitter. It has this, you can see the spottiness on the leaf. And that's either a disease or a nutrient deficiency. I don't know which. I only see it on the lamb's quarters. And there is like a lot of lamb's quarters grows here. So when you have a really high density of one plant like this, it's really common for a bug or a disease to come in and sort of take down that plant. So it's also reasonable for a nutritional deficiency to happen because you have the same plant which wants the same kind of nutrients instead of a bunch of different plants that like different kinds of nutrients out of the soil. Actually, if these ones over here have been covered, but they have not that much difference in the spottiness. Maybe it's not a bug, because a bug wouldn't have gone under the row cover as much. Anyhow, that all needs to get dealt with. There are some tomatoes that need to be planted outside, like completely outside, not in the greenhouse. And I keep thinking we've had our last frost, but maybe we've had our last frost and they can go out. I do need to move some soil, as I said, to get that done. My corn is not doing great. It has been hit by frost. And also we've had some really intense winds that have just dried out the edges. So we'll see if it takes off or not. Really, I haven't grown corn in this climate before, and I honestly haven't grown corn a lot anywhere. So that's the garden right now. This is my borage, which self-seeded. It's a cucumber tasting plant. It has purple flowers that are really good for bees. It's goosegrass. It's for geese. Oh, oh, oh. There. You can see that little goose is stuck. And it can't, there, oh, almost. It's not very smart. There we go. So you can see how without that block of concrete in there, it would have really had trouble getting that baby goose out, and he might have drowned. There's a comparison of the brand new geese to the older geese. There's some squash. It's flowering, but it needs to get on its leaves. It was planted a little bit too early inside, so it started to flower in its pot. These are male flowers, though. They don't take as much energy. They don't have a little baby squash at the base of them. So hopefully it realizes it's in the ground and does some nice, happy leaves. And then it can feed its squash plants when it actually does, or squash fruits when it actually flowers. There are some beans planted here. And we've come around to these Brussels sprouts again. You can see actually. So this is the quinoa. And it's bolting, it's going to seed early. Which, fair enough, like it just doesn't seem very happy here. And this is the lamb's quarters. And you'll notice that these plants are like very similar looking. Because they're very, very closely related. So I would imagine that if lamb's quarters grows well here, I should be able to find a way to make the quinoa grow well here. All right. Well, thank you for your walk with me around the garden. It's time for me to go in and get back to work. You all have a good afternoon.